Indeed.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Do you mean... during the night? Hey, JJ! I can hear them, you know. The footsteps of the god of death. What? I can hear the god of death as he moves. That ability naturally draws me into cases just like this.
Anyway...
Which is exactly what happened with you. I was in the dorms, and I had a sudden sense of dread. I looked down the stairwell, and I saw a white shadow cross the corridor. I gave chase right away. As I followed it, I saw the shadow go into your room.
Correct.
I ran into your room and I saw what was happening. I intervened immediately, of course.
However...
That wasn't the end of things, of course. I stopped them, but that led to... whoever the mass assailant was, they ended up dead.
Correct.
And their murder was disguised, and the dojo key wound up in my room. It all has to be the work of the mastermind in an attempt to use the class trial to eliminate me. So all this would mean that whoever killed Mukuro is also the mastermind, right?
Indeed.
I don't have conclusive evidence, but that's what I think. But that's really bad if true. I mean, the mastermind can kill whoever they want if they feel like it. Wait, but does that create another contradiction? The mastermind wanted to use the class trial to try and kill you because they couldn't interfere, right?
Correct.
You're right. That is a contradiction. And it's not just Mukuro. They needed the class trial to kill me, but seemed ready to kill you in your own. Everything they did is a contradiction. So what does it all mean?
In other words...
It means that the mastermind is the one who's been cornered. Huh?
Makoto.
Just a little more. A little more, and I should be able to figure out the mastermind's identity. The identity of the other ultimate despair. The other ultimate despair? There's no doubt that Mukuro was the ultimate despair, and that she's dead. But I don't think the ultimate despair is just one person. It's not.
Indeed.
If you think about it, the ultimate despair seems to implicate whoever caused that event. You're talking about...
That's right.
What happened a year ago, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. The tragedy, whoever's responsible for that, they're the ultimate despair.
It would seem...
That despicable group whose only purpose and motivation comes from despair, then they are,
Indeed.
make no mistake, they are the root of all the evil that has forced us to go through this. That is the ultimate despair. And that is our real enemy. The end. Hooray! Dream Island Rocket. Looks like a big butt plug. Zol, we got the butt plug. The ultimate despair. A group of people who caused the tragedy 1 year ago. Those same people put together this killing game and began broadcasting it around the world. The most desperately awful group of people ever. That is the mastermind's true identity. Our enemy has finally been revealed. But right now we have to get out of this horrible place. Figuring out the rest of the story can come after. Yeah, you're right. I mean... haven't done much searching. This is a desk. It's probably the one that fell down here with me. Is that an airplane? How'd something like that wind up in the school's garbage pit? Oh, Kyoko, do you still have that one thing? Monokuma's secret tool that you got from the headmaster's room?
Indeed.
Of course I do. It's an absolutely vital part of ensnaring the mastermind. I would never part with it. And it can open any door in the school, right?
That's right.
And we should be able to use it on that door, right? Hey Kyoko, can we use that key of yours to open the door, right?
It's true.
Let's find out. Kyoko took out the key with the Monokuma design on it and slid it into the keyhole. And then... yes, it opened.
Indeed.
Now we can get out of here. Let's go. Sounds good. We quickly opened the door and made our escape from the garbage pit. Finally. We were finally free. But there wasn't even time to take a breath of relief because the real fight had just begun. Chapter 6. The ultimate pain, ultimate suffering, ultimate despair, ultimate execution, ultimate death. Danganrompa. After leaving the garbage pit, we found ourselves in a tunnel extending straight up like a chimney. There was a metal ladder leading up into the tunnel. We started climbing the ladder, intent on reaching the surface. The ladder was impossibly long. I couldn't even see where it ended. We climbed into darkness. Nice upskirt. The passage was so dark and cramped I couldn't even see my own feet beneath me. I had no idea we were so far down.
Hey.
Don't lose your footing. If you slip, I won't be able to catch you. Yeah, I'll be careful. But now that you said that, I'm getting kind of nervous. Maybe talking will help keep my mind off it? So Kyoko, there's something I wanted to ask you. You said that you're the ultimate detective, right? So how long have you been doing detective work? How long?
So...
Ever since I can remember. I come from a long line of detectives. Detective work is in my blood. There was a time when being a detective was considered a sacred duty. My family's always seen it that way. Then, is your family famous?
Wrong.
Quite the opposite, actually. Even among actual detectives, many people haven't heard of us. But how come? It's like your family tradition, right? So...
Right.
Because we take pride in it. Pride?
Indeed.
A detective is neither light nor shadow. We represent neither justice nor evil. That is how we can uncover the absolute truth. We stand neutral in all things, and to do that, we have to stand separate from the rest of society. Which is why we've made a conscious effort to conceal our existence. A conscious effort?
It's true.
It's kind of old-fashioned. I can't say it's entirely rational, but it's our family creed and we do what we must to protect it. Because like I said, it's our source of pride. Pride. So that explains. Before I came here, when I was looking up info about the school online, I never saw anything about her. Because she hid herself on purpose to protect the pride of her family.
However...
And yet, I gave up some of that pride. Huh? In order to enter Hope's Peak, I had to reveal myself to the school. I did it knowing it was something a true Kirigiri detective would never do. But the reason you gave up that pride, the reason you would go so far to enter Hope's Peak, was because that's how much you wanted to reconnect with your dad, right? There's no shame in that.
What?
Reconnect? I had absolutely no desire to reconnect with my father. Huh? But you'd be reuniting after all those years, right? You would have had so much to talk about.
Wrong.
There's nothing I want to talk to my father about.
However...
There's something I want to say to him, though. What? No matter what it takes, I have to find him and tell him face to face. What is it?
So...
I want to sever all ties with him. Sever? The last time I saw him, I was still very young, so I don't remember myself. But apparently, he was extremely intelligent. He was in line to become the next head of the Kirigiri family. He was talented. He had a promising future.
However...
But he had no interest in detective work. So he cut himself off from the family. Not long after that, my mother died, and he simply ran away. He went to my grandfather, and they had a huge argument. And young as I was, he left me behind. I'm sure there was a reason for that. I'm sure your dad wanted to take you with him.
Right.
If that's true, then I need to thank him. Thank him for leaving me. Because unlike him, I take pride in the work I do. I take pride in my family's name. So every last part of me is happy he didn't take me with him. If I'd gone with him, I never would have had the chance to become a detective. I was above Kyoko on the ladder, so I wasn't able to see her expression. So I couldn't tell. I couldn't see how she looked when she said that, what she might have been feeling. All I could tell was that compared to her usual self, she was more talkative and more emotional. I don't blame him, you know. He had his own life to live. That's what anyone in my position might say, right? But it's not true.
However...
But there's one thing that I can never forgive. Really?
So...
The way everyone else looked at me. I was never sad about being left behind. Like I said, I think it was a good thing.
However,
But when the rest of my family looked at me, they saw something different. They only saw me as the little girl that was abandoned by her father. That's how they see me even to this day. His shadow has been following me my entire life. I'm sick of it. I need him out of my life. I need to step out of his shadow.
Correct.
That's why I have to find him and tell him we're no longer family. In order to settle the past. In order to remove him from my life forever. I have no doubt he forgot about me years ago. But your family, to just cut him out like that.
Wrong.
Our only connection is through blood, nothing more. Are we connected by heart and soul? No.
Hey.
Is blood really enough to call someone family? Only connected by blood, not by heart or soul. I was so shocked to hear her say something like that, I didn't know how to respond. So instead, I said nothing. Fair. I just kept climbing the ladder in complete silence. And after, I don't know how long, we finally reached the top. Oh, that's the thing in the trash room. Looks like this is it.
Indeed.
On the other side of this door, Hope's Peak is waiting for us. We're back.
That's right.
Remember that hatch on the ground near the trash room? I'm fairly certain that's where we'll come out. I unlocked it earlier, so it should open without much trouble. Well, here goes nothing. I reached my right hand up and pushed against the hatch. The hatch opened with ease, and so... Noise. Looks like we're back. But I can't believe how long that ladder was. I'm exhausted. I can't exactly say we're safe and sound, but at least we're out of there. Now we're back in Hope's Peak Academy. Kyoko, thank you. I never would have gotten out of there without you. No thanks necessary. I was just returning the favor. Okay. So now what do we do? I'm glad I didn't die, of course, but if the mastermind finds out... And I'm worried about you too. You helped me, so they might...
Listen.
You're worried? Yeah, of course.
So then...
Then let's just get a concrete answer.
In other words...
Let's ask Monokuma if there's a problem with you escaping. Wait, that's...
However...
If we try to hide, it's only a matter of time till we're found out, and it's not like we can run away. As she said that, she pointed at the nearby surveillance camera. So you're saying rather than stressing out over getting caught, we should just give up now? Don't worry. What you think is going to happen isn't.
Because...
The mastermind is the one that's ensnared. The mastermind is ensnared. You said something like that before. What does it mean?
So...
The mastermind stood exposed during the investigation into Mukuro's death. There was a moment where the mastermind let their guard down. There was?
Right.
If we can talk to Monokuma, we can confirm it. And it'll be better for us if we go to him directly before he tracks us down. That should help with our negotiations. I'm still a little... No, I'm super uneasy about this. But we don't really have a choice, do we?
Indeed.
Monokuma should be in the gym.
Shall we go?
Let's get going. Why would he be in the gym? Did I do this right? Yeah, I did.
Well now.
Hey. Kyoko, I don't mind so much. But Makoto's supposed to be dead. What's he doing here? That's exactly how I thought he'd react. Are we really gonna be okay? You were supposed to be punished. Did Kyoko help you?
What?
So what if I did? What will you do? If the guilty party is exposed during the class trial, they alone will be executed. It's unfortunate, but that is the rule. So now I gotta punish you again, and this time I won't leave anything to chance. Kyoko,
Right.
do whatever you feel you have to do. What?
However...
But before you do, let me just say one thing.
Yeah.
If you execute Makoto, that means you lose. Not that that matters to you, right? I lose? You, explain yourself. What do you mean by that?
Because...
Well, you set up this latest class trial yourself, right? I was getting in your way, so you wanted an excuse to kill me.
In other words,
I was supposed to be chosen as the blackened and then executed, right? Hey, what are you talking about?
however,
But when Makoto chose to overlook my lie, your plan came crashing down. The results of the trial weren't at all what you were expecting. Because you never imagined that in that position one person would protect another like that.
right,
And in response to that unexpected development,
indeed.
you reacted by proclaiming Makoto the Blackened and trying to execute him. You made the choice out of desperation, no more than that. You must have realized that Makoto, who refused to be manipulated, was a threat to you as well.
However,
But then there was another unexpected development waiting for you. An entity that would throw a wrench, so to speak, in your precious execution machinery. Alter ego. You never imagined the possibility of being that could come to our aid even after you killed it.
am I wrong?
Now, here's the absolute truth. Makoto didn't kill Mukuro. You did.
Listen to
So executing Makoto for it would surely be a violation of your rules, which I know you love so much. If the blackened is exposed, they alone will be executed. That's what you told us, right? And that means I lose? You talk a big game. You're saying the blackened is me and not Makoto?
Well,
And you can prove this, right?
well,
No, I can't. Don't just say it like that. What is this, a comedy routine to take such bold claims without a shred of evidence?
that doesn't matter.
I don't have any right now, but with a little more time, I guarantee I'll find some.
That's right.
Because no matter how deeply you try to bury it, there's only ever one absolute truth. And now you're trying to talk like some kind of famous detective type.
Because
If Makoto really was the killer, he never would have come to you willingly like this. He would have feared for his life, feared another execution. He would have tried to run and hide. You would have been gripped by the despair you so love to inspire.
however,
But here we are, confronting you with nothing but hope in our hearts.
what the heck?
And that's supposed to be enough to convince me in the absence of evidence?
indeed.
It's not you I'm trying to convince.
Hey,
If you were to execute Makoto now, everyone out there watching this would be extremely displeased. Huh?
indeed.
Imagine what everyone out there would think if you killed Makoto. They would assume that you killed him because what we said is exactly right.
Listen to me.
Despair can never kill hope.
Hey,
Of course, you can say we're just making this all up. You're welcome to prove us wrong. No, you have no choice but to prove it. Because if you kill Makoto without proving your own innocence, you'll be accepting your own defeat. Well, someone's grumpy. If you want to earn our despair, fair and square,
That's what we
then
have
I
to do.
suggest you take my advice. So, what is this advice of yours?
it's true.
To do Mukuro's trial over again. Only this time you follow the school regulations to ensure a fair trial.
It's time for one last showdown. One final battle between hope and despair. Hey,
Well, that would make for a proper climax, wouldn't you say? A fair trial, one last showdown. In other words, this would be our chance to expose the true identity of Mukuro's killer, of the mastermind themselves. But what reason would the mastermind have to accept the challenge? They'll probably just execute me without another word. Interesting.
Barrett!
Very interesting indeed. Very.
What's wrong?
Oh, I was getting bored, so I decided to change things up a little, so time for bear jokes. Now, what you've suggested might be possible. It would certainly make for one honeyyum of a climax.
in other words,
Does that mean you accept?
You guys!
If we do things your way, that'll be enough to convince you and the viewers, right? And it would cause you unbearable despair, right? Then I'm pre-bared to agree to your terms. Will your hope win out, or will my despair claim victory? Let's have one final grisly showdown. He agreed. And we still have a shot at this.
Barrett!
But this is the long-awaited climax, right? Just guessing the killer is barely a fitting end.
Guys!
So for this final face-off, you'll have to unearth all the mysteries that have been buried here. All the mysteries? That's right. Every last mystery that's pawing around the school. If you can do that, then that'll be enough to qualify as a victory for you.
it's true.
That's what we've been trying to do all along. Okay, well, good. Then let's bear it all. If you can claw your way to the truth of Mukuro's death and solve the mysteries of the school, then you win. But if you can't do all of that, well, I'll face execution, right? I can barely contain my excitement. When you learn the whole truth, what kind of despair will you show me? We're as excited as you are, I'm sure.
Listen to me.
When we've uncovered every last truth, how will the ultimate despair reveal their own despair? I honestly can't believe how this has all turned out.
Hey,
But before we get started, I want to clarify one more thing. Do you remember the rule? When one student kills another, that's when a class trial is held.
What's wrong?
I remember that for sure. So what?
hey,
I just want to confirm that is what you said, right? And it's a true statement? You don't have to be so suspicious. I've said it before, but it bears repeating. Everything is based on the school regulations, and having a trial for Mukuro is no exception to that. Huh? Mukuro's trial is no exception, then it's part of the regulations. Which would have to mean that whoever killed Mukuro... It's a very polarizing approach, I know, but okay, enough puns. Anyway, here's a hint. I'm sure I told you this already, but this killing game began with 16 participants, all of them high school students. And the only people to take a single step in Hope's Peak since the killing game began are those 16 students. What?
listen.
Are you telling the truth? Why do you go so quiet all of a sudden? I'm done talking. I got nothing left to say to you. So get lost, would ya? I'm so mad. He seems emotionally unstable. Leave me alone. Get out of here. Okay, I'm going. You really gonna let me go? I don't even care anymore. You're all gonna get your punishment later anyway. I need to start getting it ready. A super duper extra special punishment overflowing with despair.
Hey,
Come on, Makoto. Let's go. Okay.